Thresh has been open, they will let Thresh go in an early rotation, and then they will just take Nami in response. And they're perfectly comfortable with that. Soraka taken out, so it'll be Jax coming up for Flame. And what does Looper have in response to this pickup? Of course, Looper, the famous Mundo player, he did play Jax in the last game against Blaze. He fell behind early. And there we go, Lee Sin and Elise. He could play a top Lee Sin against Jax. That is actually a good lane matchup. Yeah,
it could happen. Wouldn't be too surprising. I mean, of course, Looper not known as a carry type per se, but he's transitioned quite well all throughout. And he's just been that consistent, you know, silent, solid rock up in the top lane. But we are looking at perhaps some other switches. Yeah, Twitch has still been that #1 AD carry for most teams. So I think Twitch and Lee Sin would make a lot of sense. Dandy, a long-time Lee Sin player.
And Daydream will get his preferred pick of Kha'Zix this game. But we did see, again, going back to that, Ozone left a lot of priority picks, a lot of comfort picks up for Blaze last time. And the LeBlanc and Kha'Zix, we may see them again in this game, just like we saw in the last one. But Ozone was able to handle them very gracefully, particularly off some strong Twitch play from Imp. Now, I think the Lee Sin is just a takeaway so that they can't see the Twitch when he goes invisible. And you also have that Lee Sin for the Kha'Zix to give some vision onto him as well. And looks like Lulu will be the pickup this time for Ambition, looking for that big late-game team fight with a very dangerous Jax.
Of course, Lulu on Blaze always has to be taken into account that it can very well be Lustboy going back on that support Lulu. So Samson will have to take that into account, but I think we are going to probably see mid Lulu, just given how games have worked out recently in the meta here in Korea. Imp doesn't seem too happy about his chair, so as they figure that out, hopefully we'll be able to get through picks and bans. Mata very focused, and Sona still open. We've seen Sona come up when these other supports have been banned out. Of course, in those highlights we saw Najin play Sona.
So the Ra is going to be the selection against Jax in the top lane. So it looks like Samsung Ozone will want some 1v1 and some 2v2 here in this match tonight. Mata maybe defaulting to Sona. Interesting. It's been a while since the Sona pick has come through for Mata. I am a bit surprised he doesn't want to like Leona.
Like Leona, yeah.
Definitely a much more common pick for him. And there's the Leona taken by Lustboy. Of course, you get hit by one of those Zenith Blades on Sona, who's very squishy. Can cause you a lot of problems. And yeah, that is quite odd. So last pick here, is that a mid-rise? Probably not going to be against Lulu, especially considering the Jax. And so what do you take here against mid Lulu? Emperor going for Jinx, something that both CJ teams have preferred. And Karthus.
Whoa.
Wow, this would be a team that really needs to scale into the late game.
But once they get there,
I think the LeBlanc is much better.
Yeah. Not only does it balance kind of the timing windows much better, of course LeBlanc just overall more versatile, you know, can roam a little bit to help things out in the other lanes. But let's talk about that Sona as you were, Monty. Mata, it's been a while since we've seen that. And Mata, we talked so much about Mata's vision control last game. And when there's a Leona and Kha'Zix and Jax running around, I don't know how confident he will be running around trying to get vision as Sona.
Now, this is pretty strong in terms of pick potential from Samsung Ozone. A lot of burst and single target CC, but if they get into a team fight, they're going to have some trouble engaging because their only real engage is a flash crescendo or a Lee Sin kick.
This is true.
They have to be pretty careful about that. CJ Blaze, on the other hand, very well-rounded composition, and it's going to be a bit dodgy here, I think, because Leona and Jinx are going to have a lot of kill pressure in that bottom lane. But the top lane advantage should go over to Looper on that rise as long as he can keep the Jax at bay. But with the targeted CC, he can deal a lot of damage to Jax, and he won't really be affected by the counter-strike in the laning phase.
Yep. And on Ozone, we're looking at Imp on that Twitch again. He had a lot of great ambush plays on Monday. We'll see if he can pull that off again today, even without the Nami backing him up with a lot of that CC. So we'll see what these teams have in store for us. CJ really needs to kick things off with a 1-0 if they want any hope of taking it to that death match and possibly making it into the finals. If Blaze loses this, it's 100% pressure on Frost. And we'll have to see if Frost can pull through against the recent champions, Samsung Blue. So set number 1 between CJ Entus and Samsung. It's Blaze versus Ozone. Let's get into the game. CJ Entus Blaze versus Samsung Ozone. You know, we even have like cheer squad leaders here, and the fan squads here today, leading each side.
Of course, the lovely cheers of CJ fighting and Samsung fighting, as is traditional here in esports. And what is Flame doing? So we do see a full ward start from Lustboy. And they're really going to want the 2v2. I think with this composition, Flame, I don't know whether he bought a ward or if he just didn't buy potions. I'm going to go with didn't buy potions.
I'm going to go with didn't buy potions also. That seems much more likely here. So we'll see if Flame realizes the mistake of his ways. It's going to cost him a little bit if he doesn't have that, but Lustboy with that classic deep ward, and they'll be able to get some good vision on who returns to lane. Now Looper was in that top lane, decides to port back home. Are they going to go with the lane swap here from Samsung?
Yeah, they have to get a read on this. Now let's watch where Imp and Mata end up right here, because they're going to go ahead and can they be seen by this ward? And no, they cannot. So basically they put that ward in a place that the ward couldn't be seen, but it therefore cannot see the far side of the lane. You'll notice that it wasn't at the point right there of the brush. So they tried to be sneaky, but it was actually Samsung Ozone that was even sneakier in response.
But CJ,
oh, look at this ward through the try, too, because they didn't actually ward their red buff. They warded thinking they would come through the other entrance.
Oh, man.
Samsung Ozone actually avoids all vision in this situation, and they will be able to get the 2v2. Well, see what they want. Actually, right now, CJ is backing off.
CJ seems a little bit confused, having a bit of an identity crisis.
They actually want the 2v1.
That's what it looks like. Now, perhaps they're just looking for an early kill here in the jungle. Lustboy charging through. They're going to see that Dandy already took the big Wraith, though. So Dandy and Looper pretty happy with what they've got. They'll just be able to back off and go for their own buff. And yeah, CJ taking that time to lose all this CS and about half a wave and make it to the bottom lane.
Now, typically in Korea, when you pick Jinx, you do want a 2v1 because you want to take advantage of the minigun attack speed to kill the tower faster. That said, in this particular circumstance against Twitch Sona with Jinx Leona and the kill pressure that results, especially with Kha'Zix in that situation, I would have thought you wanted the 2v2, but they are very adamant, warding up early, dropping all the wards and going into that 2v1 scenario. Pawn dealing some nice damage to Ambition in the mid lane.
Yeah, a good trade using that silence from the Sigil, jumping on with his W and getting both procs on his chains. So Pawn comes out a little bit on top from there. But Lulu, a pretty self-sustainable champion here in the mid lane, and also will be able to shove out later on if need be.
Now, Imp and Mata, they're pushing into the turret on the third wave right now. I'd love to get a look up at that top lane to see how fast they're actually going to deal damage to the turret, because I think in this situation, Samsung Ozone has a great opportunity to take the tower and get back into the bottom lane before actually the tower can be taken in response. Dandy and Loop are going to be recalling right now. Flame shows up. They know they need to fast push this now, so Flame actually has to come and help instead of jungling, because if Flame doesn't come, they may just trade one tower for absolutely nothing.
Right, and that would be pretty detrimental given all the effort they put into getting this lane. So CJ will be able to get this bottom tier 1, it seems, right as this wave finishes off. Emperor just waiting to pick up some CS, sharing it with Flame as they go through, making sure that Flame doesn't have too much wasted time here. And Emperor just going to wait that wave out to take tier 1 and bottom. Meanwhile, Samsung, they already sent Mata back home to try to respond to this bottom lane, but it's not going to be in time to save the tower. We'll see how they can manage the lane afterwards.
And not only that, but they haven't set up for the Dragon yet either. Sometimes the team with the bottom lane presence will go ahead and set that up. Flame sees that only Imp is up in the top, so he'll go ahead and teleport right now. A good call. He'll be able to catch a lot of experience off of this wave, and Imp actually, interestingly, falling back and recalling at the moment. So we'll see what Samsung Ozone has in store. They didn't quite get the top lane tower. Now you have a difficult situation here, and okay, they're gonna just send the 1v1 up into top. They want to get Looper into the flame lane so we can put down some harassment, and Twitch will go bottom, give them a little bit more dragon pressure.
Yep, and Looper did get his tier just in time, so he'll have that starting to stack. They are equal level up in the top lane, so Looper should be pretty safe for the time being. Pawn decides to go home as he notices Ambition also went home to buy his Chalice after pushing up.
Yeah, beyond the laning phase as well, when we look at Ryze's builds, because Ryze is a great champion with Frozen Heart, and that is one of the best items to shut down Jax in the late game,
yes.
Not only does he have an advantage in lane, but he also will be able to just get some items that are really crucial, and you'll notice that they're moving Ryze out of that, or Jax out of that lane immediately, just because the zoning from Ryze will just keep Jax off the minion wave. It can be very difficult, and also they want the 2v1 so they can continue to pressure towers here. Look at this, Dandy and Mata.
Lustboy's gonna get caught. He does put down the ward. Lustboy looking for the flash. He misses it and gets Ruined Prison. Will get taken down, giving first blood to Looper. That wall, the death of so many players here in League of Legends.
Yeah, and Dandy too, just waiting there to get the extra damage down and not taking any risks either. Mata going ahead and throwing down that exhaust just to be sure, but good ward coverage over the top lane for this CJ team, but even that couldn't save them. Nothing in the tri-brush.
That team loves Samsung enough to write it 3 times without any variation. But yeah, tons of fans here today. They all get Masters cheering towels too, so that's pretty cool. And now Emperor left alone with Looper. Emperor does have all that vision, as you mentioned, Monty, so feeling pretty safe in terms of getting ganked, and also has both summoners.
Well, he can't really trade with Looper, though. Looper is 2 levels up on him, and you can see what kind of damage he can do. And he doesn't have a whole ton of mana right now, and if he keeps switching into that rocket form, he's going to have some troubles. Look at that trading going down. That is...
Yeah, that hurts.
You can't leave Emperor up there alone right now with this Ryze. Ryze has gotten a bit of an advantage. And Twitch farming a little bit backward, like on his back foot, as looks like the wave is pushing towards Samsung Ozone's base and bottom. And here comes the dive. They need to shut this down. Ping's coming in, though.
Yeah, they were spotted in that try, and Looper going to start his port right away. He will make it back home safely. Daydream does have the mini golems there, so he'll be able to just take some time farming those up as Dandy steals the red from the CJ side of things. Flame going to run right into a red buff Lee Sin here. And Dandy doesn't have any help coming in yet, but Dandy will just be able to steal out those mini golems from Flame, denying him any of that farming experience. And Flame also now in danger of a dive, will back off.
Yeah, you have to be really careful because a lot of people will use a lane Lee Sin to counter Jax as well. And with that red buff and the fact that he does have a little bit of an item advantage on this Jax, would be quite dangerous. Lustboy and Daydream coming up again, but they're not clearing the wards. They haven't gone back and picked up a lens yet, so there's nothing really they can do. No pinks either. So that's a lot of time wasted.
Indeed.
For CJ Blaze, but they're zoning him off the turret, so that's a little bit of a win. And right now it's up to Samsung to start pushing some objectives, and they're just going to turn right onto the Dragon.
Yep, they had all the timing laid out for them right there. Dandy with the duo here in the bottom side of the map, and Pawn also coming up to help, while Mata keeps vision control around that mid lane as Ambition picks up his own blue. So Dragon goes over to Samsung Ozone here at the 8.5 minute mark.
And look at how smooth these rotations are from Samsung Ozone as well. Ryze is there to catch the wave in the mid lane, get all that golden experience, while the rest of his team goes and gets the Dragon. And top lane turret will be killed by Emperor, so 2 turrets to none, but still a gold deficit thanks to that first blood. And the little bit of a CS advantage that Imp has managed to get alongside that Dragon. So just good timing so far from Samsung Ozone.
Mid lane Ambition starting to trade a little bit more efficiently with Pawn. Of course, has a shield himself. Glitter Lance is going to hurt and keep Pawn at bay. So Mata's been hanging around that mid lane quite a bit, just leaving Imp here in the bottom lane to farm when he can, and Imp just going back and forth in the jungle to keep up in his farming methods, he's still quite a ways ahead from Emperor, so he should be feeling just fine.
So Ozone looks like they're going to start freezing lanes right now and just trying to hold. And of course, with the wave clear from LeBlanc's W, you will be able to do that relatively effectively. And any turret that this Sona is under, once she hits 6, of course, with Crescendo, very difficult to dive. So they've got a good chance to do that. So they've got 2 freezes now on 2 tier 2 towers. So what does Blaze do? They only have one choice. It's mid lane.
Yep, and we do see 3 members here already. Daydream starting to move his way on up here towards that mid lane. We'll see if he runs into that ward to clear it up. But with the minigun, and not to mention with Lulu, it's pretty safe.
Now, normally, as Jinx, you would use those traps to zone out next to the turret. But if we look at the position of traps right there, it's to make sure that they can't get chunked by LeBlanc's W if she comes in, that she'll hit the traps. So a little bit different placement, but if you're a Jinx and you're dealing with a LeBlanc like this, sometimes it can be helpful just to put the traps right on top of you and your teammates so she can't poke you.
I do like that. There we go. And Pawn comes in, puts a lot of damage onto Emperor, and we see Dandy jumping all the way in, but he gets the kick onto Daydream. Emperor will be safe, has to use both of his summoners to run away, and Samsung isn't giving up yet. Lustboy takes a ton of damage. Daydream tries to turn things around. There's the ultimate from Emperor. Picks up the kill and keeps Emperor at safe distance with his passive. Ambition gets caught by Rise, and Lustboy just going to sacrifice himself to be taken out by Pawn, so Samsung stops chasing the low health members of CJ Entus Blaze.
But look at the poise. They maximize their farm right there in the frozen lanes, and Ozone just coming in with the teleports at the right time in order to turn that around. Doesn't really matter that they traded 1 for 1. The main point is that they were the ones who were farming during that period, and they stopped the pressure from CJ Blaze. So you'll trade jungler for a support for that situation, especially since Imp just walks right back down into bottom and starts freezing again.
Yep, so Imp is going to be very happy about that one. Let's take a look at how that fight started off again.
Yeah, Imp with a very timely play over here. You'll notice he left a wave in the bot lane, but just knew he needed to be there, knew he didn't have the teleport. And there, Looper comes in, and Pawn, oh, there's the kill onto Dandy. And eventually Pawn will manage to finish off that Leona. Now CJ Blaze, they don't have another choice. Look at this large wave pressing in towards Looper again in the top lane. The only place they can make a play on is mid. Jack's going to go farm over at his turret, but Emperor's got us stuck here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Emperor really doesn't have an option, and Flame was just a beat late to that bottom lane, so he won't get the maximum farm that Imp pushes up. And Imp immediately moving on up towards mid lane, so as you said, Monty Ozone just having all control over the tempo of this game.
Yeah, this is a bit troublesome for CJ Blaze. Yes, they've got all the outer turrets down now, but it's so hard to make a play after this. You need to move in and get the deep wards, but Ozone is so good at vision control that it's hard to wrest that vision out of the hands of Ozone in their own jungle.
It's very true. You know, I talked about it earlier. I was asking maybe Mata won't be able to get as much vision control, but hey, if you play it back and just aim for the late game, you just have to worry about your own jungle. Sona's just fine doing that, so we're not going to see the usual aggressive warding from Mata, but just enough to make sure his carries can farm up and then piggyback him to victory late in the game.
Yeah, Looper now pushing up towards the top lane tower. It doesn't have too much HP due to Imp's start up there. And now they're just going to push a tier 2, it would appear. Teleport is not quite up yet for Looper.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a cost, but Flame actually teleporting back up top to protect that tier 1. So he's going to meet Looper here. Looper does have a level advantage on him, and of course the range advantage, but Flame just going to go aggressive, gets the stun onto Looper with that Bilgewater and forces the flash. Meanwhile, a 4-on-4 fight happens here. Solar Flare not going to get a stun, but Lustboy dives onto Imp. Meanwhile, Emperor gets caught by Pawn. Crescendo catches Daydream as he tries to ult out. Emperor will get taken down by Dandy, and here comes the teleport from Looper. He will chase down Ambition with his teammate Lulu trying to run away, but gets hit by a Sonic Wave, and Dandy finishes off another kill. Lustboy running away. Imp, can he get the slow? He does get a tag onto Lustboy, and we are going to see the Sonic Wave hit. Dandy flies through for a double kill in this fight.
And not only that, but they're going to have a perfect setup for Dragon in 30 seconds. Now, CJ Blaze thought they had a timing window right there, but Looper's teleport came up halfway through that fight. So if he hadn't been there, it may have been able to turn around the other way. But if you just watch in the replay, you could see his TP just barely be able to make it. into that little engagement, but Flame will get some split pushing. You can see it at the bottom of your screen right here, and they try and engage onto the blue buff, but Pawn with a great flank. You can see the ward over the side, allows him to get onto Emperor, and then to prevent them from peeling, the crescendo comes across. There is the teleport. The second it's up, Looper already popping his ultimate for that extra little speed boost. Pawn will flash over the wall to land the chains, and a very important one fight for Ozone, who all of a sudden jumps out to a 2.5k gold lead. And most importantly, they've done this without taking down an outer turret, which means that once these outer turrets start to fall, the gold lead is about to just go in a landslide advantage for Ozone.
Exactly. Towers are gold you can always take, so Samsung just relying on that. Pawn seems pretty happy with where he is right now, has that blue buff, and has one of his core items, the Athene's and Holy Grail. So he's just going to be zipping around those fights. And with his distortion, Ambition running down to that bottom lane to pick up the farm as Flame decides to just jungle a little bit. Maybe he doesn't need as much gold before finishing off his Blade of the Ruined King.
So Rod of Ages just completed for Looper. He managed to get enough money for that item, so 25 minutes, a little bit thereafter. We will be seeing it get fully stacked, so pretty early actually for a lane swap rise, but both Flame and Looper have done a fantastic job of farming in this difficult lane swap situation over the course of this game. Very good reads with their teleports. Of course, Flame's port is going to be the one up next. He did have the shorter cooldown by moving to the turret.
Yeah, Pawn's been so aggressive against Emperor, but very nice dodge from that Solar Flare, and Samsung has the tempo up again for another team fight while that Solar Flare is down from Lustboy. Daydream gets caught a little bit. We'll have to leap over the wall. Dandy looking for a kick here. Without the Solar Flare to peel the rest of his teammates off from the back, he's going to feel pretty confident going in for a kick, even if he's the one that gets stunned.
So Samsung Ozone has decided now is the time to start getting down some of these turrets, but they can't really do it until they poke out CJ Blaze. Again, that Twitch, very immobile, and easily, if you try to stand there, Leona is going to get onto you. That's the danger right now for Ozone when they siege the towers, is the fact that the Leona's on the other team. So not really going to happen, and you'll see that's why Ozone just backs off right there. There's not really room at this stage to make a play, besides creating picks.
And Lustboy charging through the enemy jungle, puts down a ward, will find the pink, forces Dandy off, and CJ looking to make a 5-man play up in the top lane.
Looks like they're going to get this turret, actually.
Yeah, they should be able to get it pretty quickly. Pawn going to take some time to get their imp, also walking up from the mid lane. Dandy looking for a flank kick, and there's the ultimate from Looper for a nice wave clear. Dandy jumps in to force them off in fear of a kick, and Emperor actually has to flash out, but it's still slow, gets caught by the crescendo. Dandy trying to jump through, but not another slow tagging him. Daydream goes very low. A nice wild growth will keep Emperor safe, but Emperor not putting out damage just yet. Pawn gets caught by Lustboy, but Looper takes out Flame. A nice ultimate for Emperor, but will not pick up a kill yet, but there's a double kill for Ambition with an excellent glitter lance. 3 members on each side, but Pawn super low, so Samsung is going to have to back off. Daydream also with almost no health, as we can see on our screen right now, so both teams, I think, content to back off for the time being. Emperor
nearly got chain resets with his ultimate right there, which would have been really damn scary, but couldn't quite get the finishing blow. We watch how this fight goes. That was a little bit of a weird flash because that was just the slow coming out and it was targeted, so it did actually hit him, the slow power chord. Then the follow-up from Dandy, but what a wild growth. That actually prevented Dandy from ulting Emperor back into the team, which was a pretty clutch play from Ambition. Yeah, if he had been able to get Dandy or Pawn right there, there could have been just massive damage going down in terms of resets had they been able to turn it.
Yeah, but Ambition with a calm and composed glitter lance at the end there with help picks on Sona, gets a double kill and is able to equalize that fight for CJ.
Yeah, you see the issue, though, with this engage. When all 5 members of CJ are there and Mata doesn't get a crescendo, only hitting Emperor, that was really quite nearly an ace in favor of CJ Blaze.
Oh, yes.
So they have to be super careful about these kind of situations, Samsung Ozone. And Blaze, I think they may have a little bit of an advantage in this game, actually.
Yep, and Flame gets tagged by Dandy, but will draw Dandy far into the minion wave. Meanwhile, both teams trying to get some vision around Dragon. We still have a minute and a half left, but Pawn gets some damage onto Lustboy. Looper gets caught by a trap. Will they charge for it? Solar Flare gets flashed out. So Looper will dodge that ultimate. It's down again if Samsung wants to force a fight. But as you mentioned, Monty, Samsung not the team that wants to go head-on for a 5v5.
Well, Blaze has another minute and a half to... Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Very aggressive play from CJ, but not getting anything out of it from Pawn.
Not a good flash from Ambition to try and catch that win. LeBlanc did have that W dash available. And flash up as well. Kind of a weird play.
Yeah, but they're just trying to push through. And Samsung looking for a flank. Dandy, can he get a kick? He's not going to be able to tag anyone with Sonic Wave. The minion wave gets cleared out, and Imp is going to try to come in with an ambush. But they will have to pause to make sure they regain vision control here around the Dragon. 45 seconds left. Flame's teleport is still up, but Looper's is also back up. Looper is grouped up with his team at the moment. Imp coming in for an ambush with Mata. Flame needs to watch out. He doesn't get tagged by the slow, but he does get tagged by the power cord there and the Blade of the Ruin King. Flame just trying to survive. There is the counter strike, dodging those auto attacks at the end, but Looper shows up and gets the kill with Rune Prison.
Oh, it's a little bit of a chaos right there. But it's actually good because that'll just keep pushing Looper further and further ahead of Flame on these two hard carry late game champions.
Yes.
So that's a great situation. You really want Looper to get the Frozen Heart against Jinx, against Jax. This is the item you really, 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 really want. And so giving him that little bit of a boost in terms of gold will help them reach that late game item stage just a little bit faster. And that's another dragon here as it spawns in favor of Samsung Ozone. And that dragon was really important for Blaze to actually contest, but with Flame overextending and dying right before the spawn, a pretty crucial mistake because that meant that CJ Blaze was in no shape to fight it.
That's true. So Ambition, we saw, had pushed up the top lane to try to make a play here. Afterwards, they just gave up on Dragon straight up. We'll give this enemy red over to Emperor. 4 members ready here in the top lane. Teleport's still up for Flame. Loopers is down, but he's already picking up the wave in top tier 2 for his team. And CJ just trying to constantly pressure Pawn, but again, LeBlanc, such a slippery champion, not going to be able to catch her that easily. And Lustboy's solar flares have been dodged very well by members of Samsung Ozone this game.
Yeah, it's cost flashes though, so still kind of mission successful for the solar flares. Of course, that cooldown just vastly lower than a flash. And now CJ needs to focus on sieging or finding some vulnerabilities to get to these tier 2 towers because they've been waffling around giving up dragons for quite a while. Looper should have quite a bit of gold at this stage.
Yeah, he thought about porting back, but decides no one's showing up in the top lane. We'll push it through. That tier 1 up in top is pretty low, so this minion wave, we'll see if it can take it out on its own. Yeah, should be no problem.
So important turret kill right there, and Looper just clearing out the wave as fast as possible. Goodbye, turret.
Nope, just the last few ticks taken out by caster minions, and Imp gets a slow on 3 members, but Sonic Wave not tagged, and Lustboy dives in, gets a solar flare onto Imp, but a nice crescendo, tries to keep Twitch alive, not gonna happen. Pawn also gets counter strike, Flame jumps in with leaf strike, Dandy goes pretty low, Daydream trying to follow through with his leap, but he will have to escape. Emperor gets shielded with picks on the way out. A nice teleport in from Flame to help secure a second kill and force Dandy out of the fight.
Now they knew that Looper had just recalled and that his teleport was down, so that was a very intelligent all-in from Blaze, especially catching Imp out right there in the open. Unfortunately, they can't turn it into a tower, so not really changing the course of this game in any substantive fashion, besides a little bit of extra gold, but the pressure not meaning much. There's Pawn, and this is great positioning for Pawn coming over the side, and the Imp just overextends right here. I mean, I don't care if that's a great W and spray and pray Venom cast, you still can't afford to be caught out in the front like that, and the combo from Lustboy and then Ambition with the wild growth, way too much.
Yeah. Imp just was stuck in position for so long, took the damage, tried to flash out, but one last rocket, fish rocket from Emperor, takes him out. And Jax also teleports in, avoiding that crescendo. Lustboy gets caught by Pawn. Ambition trying to save his teammate. Oh, will flash away from the Sonic Wave. So Lustboy safe, but cost him a summoner and quite a bit of health.
So funny story about Emperor these days, Chobra. You know they call him Bow Wow, the Korean fans. because he looks like
yes.
a bull terrier. Yeah, do it right now. Google image search, bull terrier.
That's true. That's what he looks like as Daydream catches Dandy. Tons of damage put down. There's Solar Flare, forces another flash out. The ultimate for Emperor barely dodged by Dandy. But Dandy now without the flash is going to be a little bit afraid to dive in, especially when his tower is going to be taken no matter what. CJ transitions that into a tier 2. Imp chasing Flame out, but Flame is happy to just use his ult, avoid some damage, and jump away.
They're not closing the gold gap, though, which is problematic because Looper is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And again, it's that frozen heart combined with the fact that it's another late game carry on Rise. And CJ Blaze is very far away from getting any serious magic resistance items to deal with this double AP composition.
Yeah, and the Glacier Shroud already there. Ambition gets caught by Pawn. A flash crescendo onto 3 members as Dandy jumps in. They'll help pick up 1 kill. Dandy safeguards out. Daydream barely jumping out of there, but Lustboy was left behind. And Pawn trying to get another chain onto Flame. All members of CJ chase back. Some of them had just gone home, so they'll sacrifice another tower here in the mid lane as Samsung takes control of the game once again.
Yeah, beautifully done. And Looper will back out, and that is a picture of Mana, who just had a great flash crescendo.
Man. Catching
3 people and enabling that turret to be taken. Now, 6K the gold lead. Samsung Ozone, and this is a bit of a grim situation for CJ Blaze. So, Pawn coming in with the initial initiation. And
oh, wow.
Just the LeBlanc route straight into everything else. And yeah, Lustboy gets back onto Imp, but it doesn't matter if there's nobody to follow up. Flame a little bit late to that one. And they'll just dodge the E from Jinx and then focus down right onto the turret. Ozone taking these incremental advantages. So after losing a tier 2, press forward, get a couple kills, and take one themselves, evening that at least objective trade up. And now they're going to set up for yet another dragon. And Blaze, not sure they're really going to be able to do anything about this. If they face check a brush, there's a strong possibility that Twitch or LeBlanc will be in it to just explode them.
Yeah. The dude potential is pretty high on the map right now as Imp shows up for an ambush, but Lustboy's here too, so Flame might turn this around with a counter-strike, gets the stun, there's the Solar Flare, onto Imp, and Emperor shows up at the last minute to pick up a kill, gets the reset, they'll chase down Sona, been exhausted, gets hit by Zap, and Flame picks up another kill for CJ. Meanwhile, Daydream was in a little bit of a bout with Looper, but both of them at half health will back off.
Wow, that was just a really bad engaged decision by Imp. He didn't have any backup. He didn't have any wards, and he decided to try and all in, but unfortunately for him, there were 3 members of Blaze there. There's the Jinx passive. They're trying to take as much as they can off of this pick.
And they should be able to get at least an inhibitor turret here, but all members of Ozone have just backed off, so CJ Entus Blaze gets 2 towers, leaving an inhibitor naked here in the bottom lane against Samsung Ozone.
And not only that, they're going to get a dragon as well, which is just about going to even us up in this game. So Imp, really risky situation right when the dragon was about to spawn, and they could have pretty much guaranteed it, but this could be a Baron.
Yeah, the pings coming in from Ozone. Ambition rushing over there to get some vision, but he's gonna run into it. He's just gonna run right into this ward, and he flashes out, but Dandy chases through. Wild Growth will keep him alive for the moment. Mata looking for a flank crescendo. Nice traps coming in from Emperor, and another stun from Lustboy will keep Dandy at bay, and the teleport coming in from Flame will keep Ozone from not only Baroning, but picking up a kill on Ambition.
Well, here's where Ozone, though, has complete control over the Baron pit. They can rebait this, they can do it. We'll see if they are so bold. Lenses going down left and right, but that top tower is naked. Fortunately for them, Flame actually burned his teleport to run away. Now, had Flame had to teleport up, he may have been able to actually get that inhibitor right there.
So we're going to see Ozone start the Baron. It's going down pretty quick. We do have quite a bit of damage coming in, but CJ's going to spot them. Pawn tries to get a chain, doesn't hit it. Daydream just blew his ultimate to force a disengage from Samsung, though. Flame gets caught by Pawn. Counter-Strike already used, has to use Leap Strike onto Emperor to escape, but the point is Baron's been disengaged from Samsung, and Samsung sooner or later has to respond to that bottom lane. The Cannon Minion doing some work for CJ as Blaze now tries to force Samsung here in the mid lane. They should be able to get this tier 2 if Samsung doesn't respond quickly, which they will not be able to.
No, they can't. They have to recall at this stage. And there you go. Looper will be the one designated to clear out this minion wave. And now CJ Blaze moves in to the pit. They don't have an Oracle's Lens, though, and they don't have any pink wards. So they're not going to be able to get total control over this area, but they're still going to start it.
Yeah, I mean, with
Looper
that
has
Jinx,
TP. They can't do it.
Yeah, they get a lot of damage in, but as you mentioned, can't do it. TP up for Looper. So Looper's still just chilling at home. They weren't able to clear that last ward, so CJ will back off. Just wanted to see what they could do, but what results in that is they also weren't able to put down any wards as they were on the retreat. So Samsung still has complete vision and tempo control around this Baron.
Now, Looper has opted to finish his Seraphs. I have to say, I really disagree with this, Chobra. I think that you go ahead and finish the Frozen Heart first in this circumstance because you're dealing with this Jinx Jax combo, and those defensive stats that you're going to get are going to keep you alive longer and the rest of your teammates longer to output more of that damage that you would get with the Seraph's Embrace and the good defensive stats you need as opposed to that shield. So I think this is a bit of a mistake from Looper just in this situation where we've seen so much combat over the course of this game.
Perhaps he just felt not enough kill potential on his team if Pawn gets caught or Imp, but I do agree with you. Just denying that damage over time may have resulted in more damage output from himself. So we'll see how that works out for him in the next fight, unless we don't see any fights before he finishes his Frozen Heart.
I do like what Flame is doing, though. He went for the Blade first, and then because he needs a way to actually duel with Looper, so if the Rune Prison goes down, he's able to Blade in response to at least close that gap afterwards if he happens to be in that same lane. Now, also the Phage gives him that speed buff as well, and now instead of finishing Trinity, goes for the Cowl next.
Yes.
So this is really good against the double AP composition, and the fact that he's going to have to gap close after some crowd control. So these are items that are going to allow him to do it.
Wild Growth blown out by Pawn as he jumps onto Ambition for a scare over the wall. So with that Wild Growth down, that's a huge component of CC, either engage or disengage from CJ. They'll have to play a little bit more cautiously. Of course, they're still on top in terms of CC wars, but they'll have to be careful that Emperor doesn't get caught out.
Yeah, Blaze with all the wards around the Baron right now.
Yeah.
You do see Mata has a very large gold advantage.
Lots of pink wards here for CJ Entus Blaze. Mata super scared to try to go and clear these wards. Now Flame doesn't have Teleport. Mata gonna get caught by Daydream. Does get killed by Emperor right away. Emperor has a reset, but the crescendo goes down before Mata dies, and Emperor dueling Dandy gets kicked right back into the fray. Looper still at full health, will chase down Flame. Flame flops around a little bit too late in the fight, gets chained, slowed, and that Counter-Strike gets dodged by all three members as Samsung gets 4 members out from CJ Entus Blaze, and they will turn this into a Baron.
Now, even though Mata face-checked that brush, they decided it was an acceptable risk because Flame was farming in the top lane. And so under those circumstances, the fact that Mata could at least hit his crescendo on one person set up that big AoE coming in from Rise and from Twitch, and Samsung Ozone jumps out again.
Yeah, that was some good play. And Mata with the quick crescendo before he dies.
So it's because they see Flame. That's the only reason why they face-check that brush, is because Flame is visible on the map. Oh, Flame, buddy, no. So they, as they say, okay, you can go in, you can face-check, just be sure you hit R before you die, and it'll be okay. And that gives Samsung enough time, but otherwise they probably would not have made that decision.
Yeah, Emperor's gonna get caught here. He sees the teleport coming in, dodges the chain, but just takes too much damage. There's a Wild Growth for Ambition, but it's too late as Rai shows up. A nice little bait from Pawn, actually waiting even deeper in the jungle to sandwich that Jinx. Yeah, Looper's like, yeah, that's right, my time has come. My items are all here. Frozen Heart ready to go. Late game Rise reporting for duty.
Well, you really have to hand it to Samsung Ozone. They knew, we talked about the engage problems that this team has. So in a way, face-checking for the R was actually the perfect engage because Mata didn't have to use Flash. I think it actually was really smart to sacrifice Sona in that way when you have no other engage.
Yep. And they'll force CJ off from defending that inhibitor turret by just Pawn poking away with his chains, forcing Counter-Strike to come up. They'll get the middle inhibitor, and Samsung will happily back off, but they're looking for a pick. And they will find that ward there. Will they stick around even longer? They have that Baron buff. Now, bottom lane, the minions pretty far up in favor of CJ, so Samsung going to back off to make sure their inhibitor doesn't get pressured.
Yeah, Mata also going for the Glacial Shroud just for some increased durability against this majority AD composition coming out of CJ Blaze. And I like that you get the cooldown for the additional poke as well, and taking every precaution, not letting their inhibitor go down in that situation. They'll have Rise go ahead and push it out. Looper just having a great game.
Yep, 6-0-4, now has that Frozen Heart to add to his collection. And we were talking about that item for so long, but now that it's here, CJ Entus Blaze, it's kind of the start of their decline in terms of power output here in team fights.
Yeah, they did a lot, though. I mean, you have to give Blaze credit. They turned that kill onto Imp into just so much.
An absolute turnaround.
Yeah, really did nearly claw their way back into the game. And I think, unfortunately, Flame used that teleport to defend the mid-wave. And if he had just had that up, because he had backed off immediately with the Leap Strike, the split push and the threat at that bottom inhib, if he had been able to TP up there, kill the bottom inhib, then they could have had potentially an uncontested Baron.
Yes.
These little things can make all the difference.
Yeah, and we are seeing Samsung pressure this tier 2 here in bottom. They still have that Baron buff, so CJ being very careful. They know that if they get initiated on at this point, it's pretty dangerous, unless they get the most perfect Solar Flare on top of Wild Growth to start the fight off. So Emperor just poking away with Zap, but it's not going to work out for him. Looper.
Oh, they could just tank the turret with Rise right now. He's got so much armor.
On gets a lot of damage onto Ambition and dodges the traps as he blinks backwards. They get the tower. Looper finishes off the inhibitor turret, and another inhibitor will be going down here in bottom lane against CJ Entus Blaze. And Super Minion's already pushing in here in mid. Samsung, are they going to look to just pressure in to maybe finish this game off? Pawn gets a lot of damage onto Emperor. Dandy kicks Emperor backwards, but there's a Wild Growth. Looper not able to catch him, but another beautiful two-man crescendo from Mata will keep Emperor locked down. Pawn flies around, gets a kill, and a double leads in with that spray and pray from Twitch as Pawn continues to just blink into that fountain to finish the game. Picks up a trade on Ambition. Flame just trying to be cute in his own fountain as Samsung starts chipping away at the Nexus.
Well, very nicely done from Ozone. Not the cleanest game that we've ever seen. Imp, I think, fighting